All right. Hello, howdy, hi, and a big hearty welcome all the way from an almost summer like Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My name is Curtis.dowhaniuk, and I am a product expert with Replicon. And today I'm going to be your guide and host on our feature webinar presentation about Replicon and growing fast while working apart. We know so many organizations are still adapting to the changes that are always happening in the workplace. And we want to show you how Replicon can help your team work in more unison, whether they are working from the office, at home, or on the road. Replicon can travel and be there with you to help your organization grow together, regardless of the situation. So today, here's an agenda for what we're going to look at. We're going to go over an overview of everything that Replicon is. Then we are going to take a look at a quick demo of the platform in action. Afterwards, we will look at a couple of customer transformations. And finally, we will finish off with a Q&A with you folks. So as is webinar tradition, here's just a little bit of the housekeeping before we go any further. Throughout this presentation, you will be on mute, but don't worry. If you have any burning questions that pop into your brain at any point in time, feel free to submit them in the question box at the bottom of the screen. Yes, I am pointing there. And then we will get to them all at the end of the webinar. So if you do submit a question during the webinar and I don't answer it right away, don't feel like I'm ignoring you. I'm not. Just kind of trying to keep the flow of everything going, especially when I'm by myself here managing everything at 10 p.m. The brain needs to stay on track. So we'll get to them all at the end of the webinar. But that being said, if there is something disastrous that happens, maybe my screen turns black, you can't hear my voice anymore, or I get sucked into a black hole, feel free to raise your hand, then submit a question, and then I will know that there is something dire that is needing my immediate attention. And that being said, maybe a little bit later, you're sitting down having some coffee, tea, or getting ready to watch some TV, and for some reason, Replicon pops into your brain. That is okay too, because you can always get in touch with us and we will have someone that will be able to write you back as soon as possible. Now, if you email me directly right after this webinar, I will probably be sleeping. So based on time zones, you might want to target your emails to either Replicon generally or myself, but again, someone will always get back to you. So at Replicon, not only do we believe that people's time is a strategic asset, but we believe it is your most important asset. Time is finite. You only have so much of it available to you. And once it is used up, it is gone forever. There is no getting it back. So you need to treat time like the precious, precious resource that it truly is. And exactly how much time do you have at your disposal? Well, that depends on the size of your organization. So with 500 employees, you will have 1.04 million hours available to you in 1 year. With 5,000 employees, you'll have 10.4 million hours available annually. And with 50,000 employees, you will have 104 million hours available in 1 year. And that is so much time. It's too much time for even one person or one department to manage on their own. And it's just almost unfathomable, really, how much time we have at our disposal. And what makes time so difficult to manage? Well, one reason is fragmented and tedious. So as you can see with Frankie, our poor Franken system here, he has so many moving parts. He has ERP, CRM, PSA, HCM, payroll, project management, and these are all trying to work together. Now, this can be difficult in a big ecosystem, and getting that information where it needs to go can be tough. And to make matters even worse, right now we have on-premises data and databases and on-premises hardware. And let's just say not every single employee is working on premises. So this creates a lot of data silos and just so much difficulty in getting the information we need to make those big decisions as an organization. And this leads to many challenges, as you can see, headaches abound, migraines, just looking at this list. But some of those include costing and billing delays, future pipeline and growth declines, decreased profitability, inability to plan to any sort of capacity, and costing and billing errors. And this is all so important because, well, you have so many different roles in your organization. You have finance leaders, operations leaders, delivery leaders, resource managers, billing leaders, and HR leaders, just to name a few. And while they are all using their data for different reasons, what doesn't change is that they needed this data to be consistent and accurate, and they need to be able to pull that information wherever and whenever they need that. So, of course, we're here to talk about our solution to all those problems, and that is the Replicon Time Intelligence Platform. It is the powerful platform for all of your time tracking needs. So you're going to hear me say this more than a couple of times today, but our platform is so configurable. Every aspect of the platform can be changed to meet your organization's needs, and that includes size. So whether you are that 10 employee startup, the 100,000 employee established organization, or that 1 million employee behemoth, we can grow and evolve with you. And not only can we grow in size, but in location. So we are a global platform with multiple languages, currencies, time zones, holiday schedules, payrolls, the list goes on. And this is to all ensure that every single user in your organization is going to have that configured experience that meets all of their exact specifications. And on top of that, we are secure. We know security is every organization's top priority, and we make it our top priority too. So we follow the most stringent standards in the industry to ensure that your data, in fact, remains your data. And on top of being anywhere in the globe, we are also anywhere on the go. We are mobile ready. We have built our mobile app from the ground up to ensure that you are able to access Replicon wherever you need it, whenever you need it. And we are giving you full functionality so that you really can take control of this platform and use it to maximize your efficiency. Because realistically, we know if you're waiting till you get home and sitting in front of a desktop and then logging all of your information, then it's never going to be as accurate or fresh, and you're not going to have that constant stream of data. So by having that mobile app, we allow you to keep track of your Polaris and Replicon information no matter where you are. And we also like to sprinkle artificial intelligence throughout the platform to make these processes as easy as possible for everyone involved. And you'll see this in a couple of different places today, like our chatbot, for example, who can help answer questions and streamline processes, or our smart approval processes that make approval processes, that was a lot of approval processes, easy as possible for end users and admin. And finally, we are plug and play, which means not only can we receive, but we can send information to any platform in your ecosystem, and to ensure that everything works in harmony. And again, eliminating those very difficult and annoying data silos that many organizations are running into right now with the work from home. So today, we are going to look at our comprehensive suite, and our comprehensive suite, which is the time intelligence platform, is made up of multiple solutions. And these solution covers things like time and billing, project time and costing, project resource management, time and attendance and compliance, workforce management, global paid time off, and so much more. Today, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the time and attendance side. We will cover some of those project-based solutions, but if there is something that does pique interest, feel free to tune into our weekly webinars that will cover all of these topics, or just get in touch with us and we can actually get you with a setup with a demo that can show you exactly how Replicon can work to meet your organization's needs. But the beauty is all these solutions are mix and match, so you can choose as many or as few that make sense for your organization, just to make sure, again, you are logging all that data in an efficient manner. So today, we got a lot to cover in an hour, so we're going to make sure we get through everything in a timely fashion and save a little bit time on the back end so you guys can have your question and answer period. But we're going to take a look at accurate project time tracking, real-time estimates versus actuals, maximizing billable hours and utilization, project and resource forecasting, global, scalable, mobile-first platform, and our powerful analytics integrations. So with that, I am going to switch my screen over and we are going to hop into the platform. So when I first log into Replicon, I will be greeted by the My Replicon page, and this is where I can log my time, look at my time off and expenses, kind of take care of all my daily duties. But I am also an administrator, and we will see that I have a little bit more of a pressing matter. I have this little red 8 in the corner here that usually informs me that there is something that needs my attention in the platform. And in this instance, it is going to be regarding my payrolls. So we manage a compliance dashboard, and this compliance dashboard is the home base for all the payrolls in your organization. Now, this compliance dashboard is manned by a team of legal and product experts who are constantly combing the globe for any changes in any of these payrolls in any location. And if there is a change, they're going to go in on the back end, update this payroll for a specific date. So if it takes into effect on December 17th, for example, we'll have that ready to go. And all you have to do to make sure you are compliant when that date comes around is review and check a box. So it is out of the box compliant. And we will allow you to understand these payrolls in depth. So not only can you see what payrolls you have in effect, you'll be able to understand which users have these payrolls assigned to them. And assigning these payrolls is easy. You can assign it one user at a time. You can assign it to batch users. You could assign it to your whole organization if you have one location. And it makes it so easy to ensure you are compliant regardless of where your employees are located. So normally, if everything is up to date, we'll see this obvious little green check mark with up to date underneath, and we can drill down and see if there's been any changes that we've acknowledged in the past. But if there are changes, and as we all know right now in the world, there are changes abound, and we want to make sure we are up to date with any of these changes, so we can see where that red number 8 has popped up, and there are a few reviews that we have to make, to say the least. And so there are a couple of different ways that I can understand these changes directly in the platform. One is by drilling down into our version history here. And under version history, I will be able to see a kind of a quick Coles Notes summary of any of these changes. So here we can see added support for breakout hours, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just kind of gives me a quick understanding of what's changed. Now, understanding these changes is so important as an organization, especially if we have employees working from home, because we want to know exactly how this will affect our organization, our bottom line, and how we use our hours effectively. So if I want to drill down a little bit further, I can actually subscribe to changes in certain areas. So not only do we have this compliance dashboard that we take care of on an ongoing basis, but we also have a subscriptions page for our blog. And our blog, again, is manned by a team, and they will make sure that we are diving in depth into any of these changes. And you can subscribe to these changes in a specific locality, and you can actually add any email. So not only will these subscriptions pop up in your Replicon, but you can also have them sent directly to your inbox. And from here, we can drill down into any of these examples. Compliance Desk United States, for example, will tell us all about the FMLE for rotational employees, inclusion of per diem benefits, and calculating overtime rate. The list goes on. As you can see, this is quite a bit more in depth. So again, we are giving you the ability to understand exactly how these payrolls are going to affect your organization and act accordingly. And now, once I am educated as an administrator and I understand exactly what these changes are, now is the fun part, because we all know how satisfying it is to change these little boxes into a check mark. It's like when you have your drink and you push the little plastic button on top. So here I can click the review. We obviously know they updated one of our payrolls. And here again, I get the quick version. If I want to dive down a little bit deeper, I can. But by pressing acknowledge, this will update the payroll in my system. And there we go. I'm compliant with all the legislation in this locale, and I don't have to worry about a thing. It is out of the box compliance, and we are ensuring that you are so easily able to adapt to any of those changes, no matter where you are. And we really dive deep into all of these payrolls. We want to make sure everything is covered. So we have payrolls currently in over 130 locations, including countries, provinces, and states. And this is worldwide. And if there is a location that you have in your organization that isn't covered here, there's a chance that we are either working on expanding it, or we can work on it with you to get that payroll in our library. And from here, I can drill down into any of these payrolls and understand exactly what is happening within it. I like to use Czech Republic as an example because there are a lot of parameters that are being covered. So we can drill down into the daily overtime, the weekly overtime, the night premium, the included time off, workday regular time. The list goes on. And if I understand what is covered under each of these parameters, I can drill down into these payrolls, and I will get an in-depth look at exactly what is happening within that payroll. Now, we do also understand that, well, sometimes these payrolls might need to be changed or adjusted slightly. Maybe you have a CBA or a union. Now, what we don't want to change is these already managed payrolls by Replicon, because, well, if you change these and you kind of forget, or you just set it to one user, then you might not realize that you're out of compliance for your location, and that is less than ideal. So we're not going to change these built-in payrolls, because in case you have to change it back and you can't remember what it is, that could be a situation for everyone. But what we can actually do is make a copy of this payroll. And you will see I've already made a few copies here of Alberta and Brazil, for example. On any of these copies, I can drill down and start editing those parameters and the default parameters, so I can adjust these payrolls, and then we can follow along and have maybe one payroll for Alberta General and maybe one payroll for union workers, maybe, or CBAs, or whatever the case may be. We have the ability to adjust these payrolls on the fly and ensure, again, that everyone is constantly in compliance with the legislation in their locality, whether it be country, state, province. We cover it all. And now, once we have all these payrolls covered, we're going to need to get everyone scheduled to work. And again, just like everything else in Replicon, we make this easy. So we can easily assign schedules to users. We can add one user at a time. We can add multiple users at a time. And on the back end, we can create different shifts. So we have day 1, day 2, night shift, swing 1, 2. And we can assign this to batch users. We can actually change the start and end time as well. We have a whole bunch of tools at our disposal for setting up these schedules. And once these are assigned, we can start over allocating timesheets with these scheduled hours. So again, we're making this process streamlined for every single person involved. And Speaking of timesheets, we call ourselves the time intelligence company for a reason. Time is something that we do oh so well. There exist so many different permutations of our timesheets that we could feasibly create a different timesheet for every single user in your organization. And we're going to go over more than a couple of these timesheets today. We're going to look at all the different examples because this is so important as we want to ensure that you have the timesheet that is set up for your instances. Using our custom timesheet widgets, we can ensure that you make these timesheets exactly what you need them to be, and we're going to help you do that. So today we're going to explore some of the different options. So first, we are looking at a project-oriented timesheet, and here we are logging our time towards a specific project, client, and task, and everything here is searchable. So if you're an organization with 100 different job codes, we want you to be able to locate everything with ease. So if I know I'm looking for a project on Big Game Inc., I can type it in and it'll pop up there. But there may also be the instance when I don't know exactly what my project or job code is that I'm looking for. So we actually have this advanced search feature as well. And this is basically just a set of filters that we can use to ensure we are finding everything we need. So maybe I am working on a specific project or maybe a specific task in my country, and I want to hone in because I'm not really sure what it's called. And I'll see, okay, I know I was working for Big Game Inc. Oh, it's financial data reporting fixes that was assigned to me. I have implementation. And there we go. I was easily able to locate this. And throughout Replicon, we have permissions to ensure that you are only able to access the information you need. So maybe it's in projects. I will only be able to log my time towards specific projects, clients, and tasks that I have had my permissions given to me to access. And I will only be able to see that information. I will not be able to see anything outside of that. So again, that we ensure all this time being entered is clean and accurate. And from here, I can go ahead and select my activity. And we also know that organizations don't want to consistently be having their users search through all this information to find what they need. There's a very good chance that if I'm working on implementation for 8 hours today, I'm going to be working on implementation throughout the week. So we want to give you different options for populating this timesheet quickly. One is we can duplicate the whole row and we can go ahead and change things like our activity or maybe our billing rate, or maybe I want to just populate this sheet with my previous timesheet hours. I can also go ahead and do that. We could populate with my scheduled hours. So I have a ton of different options when it comes to filling out these timesheets quickly. And as I go ahead and log my time, we will see this manifest itself in our progress bar. So every single task can have progress assigned with that, and just helps me understand as an end user how close to completion I should be on any given task. And here we can see I'm 163 hours over our estimate, which is a little bit less than ideal. But that is okay. Replicon is going to help you manage any of these inconsistencies and variances within our timesheets. So I've gone ahead and worked my 40 hours for the week, maybe a little bit more. Let's say 42. And I think this timesheet is looking good. Now, what you will also notice is we have these little check marks. And these check marks actually allow you to have kind of a bifurcation of how your timesheets are submitted, because we know some organizations bill daily. Maybe they bill weekly, but we want to ensure that you can get this information where it needs to go. So if your billing cycle is different than your payroll cycle, we want to ensure that these submissions happen when they need to happen. So for example, if I'm working on implementation for Big Game Inc. and I'm finishing my work on Monday, and that's the only task I want to submit because maybe that's the only billable thing I worked on, we can highlight this one submission and we can submit this time entry. And this will go directly to my billing or project manager. Now, separately, at the end of the week, I'm going to need to get paid for all my work, and I'm going to have my payroll who is managing all the hours that I have worked. We could submit this whole timesheet, and this will go to a payroll manager. So we actually allow you to set up different timesheet approval processes and get this information where it needs to go. But this timesheet is looking complete on my end, so I think I'm going to go ahead and submit everything. And the first thing we will see here is I forgot to accept this attestation on the bottom. And these attestations are examples of validation rules within Replicon. And validation rules are certain parameters that must be met every single time that a timesheet is submitted. And this ensures the clean and efficient entry of data into our platform. And these validation rules cover things like minimum hours entered, maximum hours entered, mandatory break periods, hours during a rolling period, or maximum overtime, just to name a few. I think we have over 70 validation rules in our platform, and that list is constantly growing. In this instance, I forgot to accept our attestation, so I get a gentle reminder that if I want to go forward, I'm going to have to accept and submit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I also have the option here to enter any comments for my manager. In this instance, not necessary. And once we go ahead and, I've actually canceled my timesheet submission. Let's try that again. I'm going to go ahead and submit, and we will let Replicon work its magic, but I'm going to give you a hint. this timesheet is going to be rejected because I have exceeded one of those validation rules in our platform. So as we can see, as an end user, it might have been easy for me just to ignore this time progress bar and said, it's okay, I'll let my managers worry about it. But now if I want to submit this timesheet, it has been rejected outright. We want to put the onus on the end user because we know how painful it is for management to go back in time and adjust these timesheets. There's the whole back and forth, especially with people working from home. Hey, do you need me to change this? Yes. To what? This? Okay. No. To, it just gives me a headache thinking about this. So we are putting the onus on the end user to ensure that all this time entry data is clean and accurate. So now me as a end user will see, okay, if I want to submit this timesheet, I'm going to have to talk to a manager, talk to my project manager, tell them, hey, this task is running a little long. I wasn't able to submit my time. And we can set this threshold to be 100% of our estimated hours, 110%, 120%, whatever the case is. Now I have to talk to my project manager, and maybe they had so much going on that they didn't see that we were bleeding time on this specific task. And now not only can they follow up with me and set me on the right track, but set this whole project and task on the right track so we can ensure that we are going to finish everything out in an efficient manner. And this is just one example of the many timesheets that we have in our platform. And me, as a project manager, will also be able to manage them all in the Team tab. So the Team tab will have a breakdown of all the timesheets that I have waiting for approval, as well as the time off bookings that I have waiting for me. In this instance, we have a couple. So let's drill down and see some of the other options we have for timesheets. So for some organizations, maybe they're not working towards projects or just simply tracking organizational time. We have a little bit more of a simple time distribution grid here. And in this instance, Chris is just logging the hours that he works during a specific day. Now, unfortunately, it looks like Chris has actually exceeded one of his validation rules, but what we will notice is that previously, if we exceeded a validation rule, the timesheet was rejected. But in this instance, we want Chris to still be able to submit his timesheet because we do expect that sometimes he will work overtime. So here we can see this warning pop up. I'll know that this might need a little bit more review or follow-up. And if I need to make any changes, I can reopen this timesheet, drill down, and make any of these adjustments, and he'll be able to see that there's been these changes made on the bottom, or really anyone in the organization for this matter. Alternatively, we can also give Chris the ability to go back in time and open up any of his timesheets on his own, and we can set this ability to happen only before timesheets have been approved, anytime or not at all. So again, everything in our platform is configurable, and we can really set up approval processes that make sense for your organization. Now, another example of a timesheet we will have is with Kurt Jones here. And Kurt has a little bit more of a custom timesheet. So you will see that Kurt is logging, again, his time towards projects, tasks, and activities, but he's also logging the exact hours that he worked. And he also has a few custom fields here. So one is for comments and one is for mileage. And right now, with our employees working from home, we might not have as much contact with them as we would like. So this comment field allows us to really stay up to date with what their successes are, or maybe where their struggles are, and follow up with necessary. But we can only follow up with Kurt if he remembers to enter those comments. We all know that employee who doesn't like to fill out their timesheets to the full extent. So in this instance, we will get all of these validation warnings triggered. So now we allow this to be submitted this time, but I can follow up with Kurt and tell him how important these comments are in this instance. And now if Kurt forgets next week, we can actually change this timesheet for the next week to actually outright reject this timesheet. So now he has to submit those comments every single time. And we also have mileage tab here. This could say mileage, it could say units completed, it could be photo proof of the work done during the day. What we're trying to show here is that not only can we set up a configured timesheet for every single user in your organization, but we can set up a configured timesheet for every single scenario that this user may find themselves in. So whether Kurt is working from home, on the road, whether he is working from the office or a combination of all three, Kurt will have that timesheet for every single scenario, regardless of where he's working from. And we can always ensure that these are able to be updated and adjusted on the fly. So again, we are staying up to date with any of the changes in the rapidly changing world around us. Now, finally, we will also be able to access any timesheet that has ever been created in the history of this instance, if I'm an administrator. And here I will also be able to see that we have a punch timesheet. So yes, Replicon does support time punches, and we'll actually explore that on the mobile app in just a little bit here. But on the back end, this is what our time punches will look like. So we'll be able to see if he's punching in and out, what his times were. If he's transferring to a break, we'll be able to see this here. And we can also allocate this time to different projects and tasks, as well as pay codes. Now, let's be real, our end users are not going to care so much about what they're allocating their time towards. They just want to punch in and punch out, and they don't know what is double time, what's overtime, what's triple time, whatever the case may be. They're not going to understand these rules. So we want an easy way for the payroll people on the back end to be able to adjust this payroll accordingly. So as we saw previously, I can actually overwrite this timesheet with my previous timesheet hours, excluding time data or including time data. I can overwrite it with my scheduled hours, or I can also overwrite it with the allocated payroll. So as we explored a little bit earlier, every single user will have a payroll assigned to their individual. And based on where I'm located, this will update all these hours to double time, overtime, whatever the case may be based on that payroll that's assigned to me. And it's automatically going to assign that on my time distribution grid. So as we can see, what needed to be distributed was distributed automatically. And again, this just makes everything so simple for the end user and the administrator. And now we know also that hopefully very soon, not everyone is always going to be sitting in front of their computer screens. Maybe they're working on the road, maybe they're working with clients, but they are going to need to track their time data from wherever they are. And we know that, well, waiting till you get home and sitting in front of that computer is not going to have the data fresh in your mind, and it's not going to give you that constant update of everything that's happening with your organization. So for that, we have created our mobile app from the ground up, and our mobile app is going to allow you to access all that information you need while on the go. So as you can see, first when I log in, I will be greeted by Chatbot. And Chatbot is great for answering questions and streamlining processes, but unfortunately, Chatbot, we don't have so much time for you today. So I will be able to manage all of my timesheets from the aptly named Timesheet tab. And here I can actually clock in based on my different timesheets. So here we can see I'm logging in towards a specific client, project, task, and everything here is searchable again, so we can easily find what we're looking for. And when I am ready to go, you're actually going to see one of our many awesome features in action. So when I clock in, it's actually going to mandate that a photo is taken. Yes, it's 10 p.m. and I do have stay home hair, so I did wear a toque today. But we will now be able to see that it quickly takes a picture just to prove that it is in fact me who is clocking in. We don't want any buddy punching. We want all of our time to be clean and accurate. So we have multiple different features in place to ensure that this is clean and accurate. And from here, I can go ahead and take different types of breaks if applicable. I can also transfer to different projects. So I can manage all my punch in and punch out directly from my platform directly. And we will also be able to see that if I have a traditional timesheet allocated to me, I can also add specific time entries. So I can add my time towards specific projects, clients, tasks. Again, everything is searchable across multiple days. And once I've actually selected a time entry towards one of these specific projects, let's just fill this information out quickly. And I go ahead and, oh boy, enter my hours here. We will see that once I add this time entry, it's going to give me suggestions for future time entries based on what I've worked on for that specific day. So again, we want to make this timesheet process so easy for everyone involved. So we do as much as we can to really give you that ease of access for every single user. And again, we wanted this ease of access to also transfer over to our managers. So our managers will have a dashboard, and this is where they will manage all of their approval processes. So there's a couple different things we'll see here. One is we have all the timesheets that are waiting for approval. As you can see, I haven't been really keeping up to date. And I can actually approve or reject all of these at any given point in time, or I can drill down into any one of these timesheets and understand exactly what has happened in this example. So Tammy Benson, we can see, has worked the regular 8 hours per day, 40 hours per week. We get an estimate of her payroll summary. And if this is all looking good to us, we can go ahead and approve. Or if we want to make this process even smoother, we can actually set these to automatically approve. So Replicon supports smart approval processes, which means that if everything is business as usual and using those permissions and validations that we saw a little bit earlier in the demo, we know that this time is clean and accurate, so it can be approved automatically. And this is going to not only save our approvers so much time in the long run, because they're not going through 1,000 different business as usual timesheets a year, but it's also going to allow this information, again, fed into our system in a more efficient manner so that we are constantly allowing ourselves to understand exactly what is happening on any specific task, project, or program. And again, if we don't want this automatic approval, we can always set up smart approval processes. So we can set up routing to a manager, we can set up 2-step approval, we can set up 10-step approval, whatever makes sense for our organization. And here I'll also be able to manage my expenses as well as time offs and also view the punch status of my team. So previously we saw how we can take photos to ensure that buddy punching isn't being used, but we also want to understand where and when our employees are punching in and out. So there's a couple of good uses for this. One, for example, is we all know the instance of where you are maybe you sleep in a little bit or you stay a little bit longer out for lunch, and it's very tempting to punch in or out from wherever you are. But in this instance, we can actually set up a geofence. And these geofences are specific areas where our users will only be allowed to punch in or out from. And we can set these geofences to be 0.5 kilometer, 100 meters, whatever the case may be. We can set that up in our platform. We can set up multiple geofences for one user, and these can be changed. And we will also be able to see where our users have punched in or out from. And in case there's anything like an emergency, a natural disaster, we'll always be able to understand where our users are punched in or punched out from and where they might be affected. And again, just like everything else in the platform, this is all configurable. So if you don't want to use any of these features, you can always turn them off. We know organizations have privacy concerns and maybe users don't want to be photographed every day. That is okay too. Everything is adjustable within the platform. There's also instances where we understand that managers will be entering time for their team. They don't want their team to be entering the time. They just want to take care of it all themselves. So we actually have this crew time option as well. So here, this will show everyone that is on my team. And I can actually go ahead and add time entries, or I can add break punches, for example, on any one of these timesheets. So again, we're just giving you so many different options for how you log this time in our platform. Now, finally, we do also understand that there is going to be some people who prefer a little bit more of the traditional punch in, punch out system. Now, we know a punch clock can be a difficult task for a lot of organizations. Old punch clocks are unwieldy. They are difficult to update and manage, and they can be abused. So we wanted to avoid that, and we have brought our punch clock into the 21st century. So I just have one more device to switch over to. And so for that, we have created our cloud clock, and our cloud clock is the modern cloud punch clock. And as you'll see in just a moment, it offers us a ton of options when it comes to clocking in. So this is perfect for having at the front of a workstation, or if you're a factory worker, or even just retail where you have people constantly clocking in or out. We want to give you multiple options for clocking in. So as you can see, even with my COVID toque, as we call them in Canada, or I guess beanie, wherever you're from, it will be able to recognize my face very quickly. I got my toque, my glasses, and my headset. It still knows, well, I've configured it to log in as Richard Anderson, but it still knows it's me. And from here, I will be able to, as you saw previously, punch in towards specific projects. I can take my break, I can transfer, and I can clock out. And this is all really easy and quick, because we know in a lot of situations, you're just going to want to clock in or clock out in a quick and efficient manner. And there may be some instances too where you're going to want to view your punches on a timesheet. So I can also drill down a little bit further, and we can see, again, all that information about my punches in and out and where I punched in from. And another important feature right now, let me just kind of hide for a second here, is that we know touchless is going to be key because, well, we want as minimum contact points as possible. So as you can see here, I have it turned off for now because when I try to give this demonstration with the speech recognition on, there is so much that happens. It writes my text out on the screen, and that is less than desirable. But we can actually turn on this voice recognition. And once oh, there is so much going on here. So we will see it starts saying all this stuff on the bottom here, but if clock in. Oh man, here. So I'm just going to give a demo here. We will let it not, it will clock me in this way and clock in.
Are you trying to clock in?
So I can directly clock in or clock out with my voice. We can also move my tasks. We can punch out. Everything can be done with my voice. So there is no touch necessary. We don't want anyone to be worried about contact points. So again, we have the ability to turn this on or off at any given moment. We can also log in with QR codes, so we can actually have a little badge attached and we can show it that way. We can also punch in using a user ID. So again, there are so many options, and we just want this whole process to be smooth and efficient. And all you need for this is an internet connection, or not even an internet connection. You can actually set up this to sync with an internet connection when you bring it back to an area with internet. Or if you have an internet connection, you can change the amount of times that this will interface with the Replicon platform. And yeah, a tablet an amount for the doorway or whatever you're using it, and voila, you will have all this information interfaced directly with Replicon itself. So finally, after we have all had this information logged, we are going to want a way to export it to the platform of our choosing. And we can do that with our Payroll Workbench. So our Payroll Workbench is going to allow us to break down all this information in an easy and efficient manner. So we know that, well, organizations have a lot of moving parts, and we want to make sure, again, that there is no data silo. So not only can we receive information from any platform, but we can send it where it needs to go. So we can take all this payroll information that we have logged into our platform, and we can send it to basically any program in our ecosystem. We have ADP, in this instance, in SAP, but this by no means is the exhaustive list. Basically, we can connect to any platform, whether it be through CSV, or we have a ton of out-of-the-box connectors that ensure that, again, your information gets where it needs to go. And once we have created these pay runs, we can actually go back in time and review them, edit them if possible. And if we have a million different pay runs, we will be able to search through every single one to find exactly what we are looking for. And payroll information is not all we will be able to manage in Replicon. We can also manage time off information. So if we are, for example, looking to manage all of our employees' sick time or vacation time, whatever the case may be, we can create different instances of these vacation rules within our platform. So I can actually drill down to all the balances I have available to me. And if I want to understand how I am accruing these specific hours off, I can drill down into my policy, and we can see that I have actually had a policy that is configured to my exact specifications. So we can configure a policy for every single time off type, as well as every single user in our organization. And we can actually have these automatically update at a specific time period. So after a yearly anniversary, a monthly anniversary, whatever the case may be, we will be able to update these in real time. And from here, I can drill down into like the different metrics when I've used a vacation type, when I've accrued it. I'll understand all of that with just a couple of clicks. And from here, I have an easy way to book all my time off. So depending on what time off type I'm booking, I can take full days. If we take a look at personal leave, for example, I will actually have half days and partial days, and I just choose my start and end date and leave comments, and this will go right to an approver who can get this time off sorted with ease. And what's also wonderful is we can set this up to show everyone on my team's time off. So this way I know if I try to book time off as when someone else has booked time off, that is probably going to be rejected. Or if I'm trying to book time off when my manager has time off, again, that's probably not going to fly, and just really helps our management as well manage these time offs. So we're not having that classic situation of, where is this person? Oh, they're on a time off. What about this person? Time off too. Again, we just want to make everyone's life easier. And that is why we have created our Replicon Time Intelligence platform. And on top of making all these time off types easy, we also want you to be able to manage expenses with ease. And we know sometimes users don't necessarily log a lot of expenses. So we just wanted to make this, again, as simple as possible. So for things like mileage, for example, I can log the date incurred, the description, the type, and we can actually set the reimbursement rate as well as the currency and the payment method. And all they have to do is upload a picture of their receipt if necessary and submit. And again, that expense is ready to go. And we can get these expenses reimbursed with swiftness because, well, Replicon has basically automated everything. And finally, we want all of this information to also trickle down into different types of organizations. And there's going to be some organizations that are going to be using this data for more than just payroll. For example, they might be using this information to help them manage projects. So we have a robust project system in our platform, and we could do a whole webinar on this. We actually do a whole webinar on this. But just today, for time's sake, we'll be able to do a quick skim just to understand that not only can our time be used for payroll, but it can be used for billing and costing and a whole host of other options. So with our projects, we wanted to make a robust project setup. So first, we organize them by programs, and programs are those larger initiatives within an organization. With these programs, you can set them up to have as many projects as you see fit. And then all these projects will be broken down into their different programs. So here I can see what projects this program will contain. And from there, I can drill down even further and understand more specific information on this given project. So I'll have a breakdown of hours, cost, and billing, and all this is real time. So anytime we make changes in the platform, we'll be able to see the difference in those actuals versus estimates, or in this instance, our billing versus cost. And this, again, just helps us to understand our project help with a couple of clicks. And from there, we can also break these projects down into tasks. And these tasks, again, like we saw previously on the timesheet, help us understand how close to completion a certain task is, or help us understand how much time we should be allocating towards tasks in the future. We can allocate all of our team members based on specific groups or areas. And from there, we can also assign them specific billing rates and tasks to ensure that all this time being entered is clean. And then from there, we will be able to understand allocation. So we can break allocation down on a project level, understand where their time is being used, if their time is being over allocated. And this helps us to better manage our time as a whole. And if we really want to get a holistic view of how all this time is being used, we can drill down into our resource tab. And this is going to break down all of our allocations across our whole organization. So for example, if we had a project that had a particularly bad month, we can drill down into that specific project and see if there was over allocation or if we had a ton of users on vacation, whatever the case may be, we can hone in on those problems. Now, similarly, if we have a specific skill that we're looking for and we see is in constant use, we can drill down and see maybe we only have one user with that specific skill. Or if we're looking at CRM evaluation, we can see there are multiple users that in October had time over allocated where we had Chris Defonte not over allocated at all. So again, this just really helps us get that holistic view of how we're using our users and utilizing our employees. And again, we're going to want to export all this information in a number of ways. And one of those ways is our billing tab. So our billing tab helps us do that invoicing and manage all those billable hours in real time. So if I'm a project manager, I can break down all of my available hours, what's been invoiced, what hasn't been invoiced. And if necessary, I can invoice directly from the platform. So all these invoices are configurable. We can actually change things like line items. Maybe things run a little bit long and we are changing the amount of hours worked. We can go ahead and drill down into the tab here and we'll see this is all updated in real time. So everyone understands exactly what's happening. And these invoices are configurable so we can change the logo, line items, color scheme, layout to ensure that this invoice looks exactly as we need it to look. And when we are ready, if we go back to this invoice page here, we will be able to see that we are able to sync these invoices. So just like all that payroll information, we can sync this to any platform in our ecosystem to ensure that this billing happens in a timely fashion. And finally, we can break down all this information into cost information. So our time workbench allows us to understand exactly where we're using every second of our time. And this is so important for a couple of reasons. Maybe we're doing chargebacks and we want to understand exactly what department needs to be charged for a specific work on a specific project. Or maybe we are looking at using this time towards an R&D tax credit. Now, the specifications for an R&D tax credit are so stringent, so we need to make sure we are logging every single second of time, and this will be an accurate log of how we have used all of our hours across the platform. And now finally, that has been a lot of information. We have been entering so much into our platform. We want to understand what it is doing for our organization, and there are a couple of different ways that we can break down all this information. Now, one is through dashboards, and dashboards are kind of the visual culmination of all the data that we've input to this platform. Now, these dashboards are highly configurable, so we can create them from scratch, we can adjust them, and we can basically display any information that we want to understand. So for one example, if we wanted to break down our hours by project, we could drill down into that specific dashboard. We'll be given all the raw data. And from here, we can drill down into specific projects and see where the hours have been spent. And these are perfect for exporting into slideshows, presentations for leadership, or just helping anyone understand the exact health of an organization. Now, similarly, I'm sure we've all seen a project or 3 or 50 in our history, and that is because they are so important. They give us all the hardline data behind our organization. And again, this is kind of the laundry list of reports that are most requested by our customers, but by no means is this an exhaustive list. We can create reports from scratch. We can adjust the ones that already exist and really tailor them to be exactly what we need them to be every single time. And these can be scheduled to send out daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and to anyone with an email address. So this information gets where it needs to go. And if we need to, we can also run it on the spot. So for this example, we have our project profitability analysis, and this is going to take down our total contract value, estimated cost, estimated billing, actual cost, actual billing, and smush that all together to give us an expected profitability. And if it's not lining up with their actual profitability, we will get one of these gentle alerts that is telling us, please help this project. It is in danger. We need to fix things before they get too dire. So again, we are giving you full control over everything that is happening within your organization, not only when it comes to the data entry, but understanding that data. And finally, not only do we want to capture every second of your time, but we want to help you transform it. And we can connect to BI tools like Power BI, Google BigQuery, and Tableau to really give you full holistic views of all this data that we have already been capturing. And all you have to do to transform your data like you see here is download one of these predefined workbooks, plug in your instance, and voila, you will see this information like you see before you. So for example, not only can we help you capture every hour, but we can help you break it down by work time, time off, those estimated hours, as well as overallocated hours. And then we can break that down even further into productivity. And productivity is going to be your project time versus your non-project time. And obviously, as an organization, you want to be working on projects because that's where we make money. And this instance, we can see 89% of our time has been in fact logged towards projects. But we can break that time down even further to understand our utilization. And utilization is going to be billables versus non-billables and non-project time. Now, as an organization, we want to aim for about that 70% utilization rate. And in this instance, you can see even though we had that 89% project time, only 57% of this time is billable. So we are not really making as much money as we could be and not utilizing our time effectively. And as a result, we can see that this is hurting some of our projects, which we can break down in our project analyzer. So with just a quick glance, we can see that dashboarding, evaluation of billing systems, and evaluation of financial reporting tools are all runaway projects. They have a lot of that non-billable time being logged towards them, and that is not ideal. So right away, we're able to identify those outliers and make corrections where necessary. So that was the whirlwind tour of the Replicon platform. I hope you're really able to see how not only can we help you with managing every second of your time, but we can help your organization grow. Whether your employees are working from the office or working apart, we are going to help you expand and evolve whatever situations you might find your organization in. So after that, all that, we're just going to hop back into our PowerPoint presentation. We're going to do a quick review of everything we saw today, look at a couple of customer transformations, and finally, we will end off with a Q&A with you folks. So as you saw today, Replicon has so many benefits. We can help you decrease revenue leakages, increase resource utilization, decrease administrative overhead. The list goes on. Replicon is capable of so much because it is the time intelligence platform. And we can see that this has, in action, helped quite a few customers, to say the least. And one example is our 300 employee consulting firm. Now, I know this is making me shudder just thinking about it, but they were using manual spreadsheets to track all their data. And this was not at all flexible. It made it difficult to manage their cash flows, created an utter nightmare when it came to billing, and this affected their overall profitability. But after implementing Replicon, they had a user-friendly interface that facilitated accurate and consistent data collection. This improved their resource management, allowed for better staffing, and created faster and more accurate billing. Now, another example is this 800-employee computer software company, and they use their on-premises system that they had created when they started. But as they started to grow, they did not take into account that this platform also needed to grow. So it was not really able to scale to their organization. And this made it difficult to track all their data. It gave them limited insight into all their activities. And when it came to R&D tax credit time, let's just say they were not audit proof. But after implementing our platform, they had accurate and effective hours attribution to all their projects. They spent less time tracking and more time doing that work that mattered. When it came to audit time, they were much more prepared, and this created that centralized solution where they could pull all that data that they needed when they needed it. So as we saw in action today, Replicon is capable of so much, to say the least, and we really focused in more on that time and attendance with a little bit of covering of that time and billing and project time and costing. But again, we can really cater this solution to be exactly what you need it to be. You can choose as many of these solutions as make sense for your organization, so we can really tailor the platform to meet all of your needs. And if you had any questions about what you saw today, feel free to get in touch with me. My name is my name is not curtis.dowhaniuk. My email is curtis.dowhaniuk@replicon.com. My name is Curtis Dowhaniuk, and I will be happy to answer any questions. And if you want to see a little bit further what Replicon can do for you, get in touch with us, and we can actually set you up a demo for your exact specifications. So you give a list of everything that you need to track or how you need to operate. And we will set up this instance. We'll give you a demo with one of our product experts that is specific for your organization. Then we give you the proverbial keys to the city, and you're off to the races. You can try things out for a couple of weeks and really see how hard Replicon can work for you.